The day he saw her for the first time, Thomas hadn't come to buy a person. He'd come to buy a horse. But fate doesn't always look the way we expect it to. Sometimes, it looks like a frightened girl standing in the rain with a price tag on her life. The market was crowded, noisy, and cruel that morning. Men shouted, coins clinked, animals cried out, and somewhere in the middle of it all stood a girl who didn't belong there. She couldn't have been more than 19, too young to have eyes that sad, too old to still believe the world would be kind. Her name, he would later learn, was Anna. Before we begin, tell me where you're listening from. Your city, your country, maybe your favorite time of day to hear stories like this. And if stories about kindness, change, and quiet miracles mean something to you, don't forget to subscribe. Your small act helps me keep sharing stories that reach the heart. Thomas was a simple man, not rich, not powerful, not important. He worked as a carpenter in a small town at the edge of nowhere. He built cradles for newborns, chairs for the elderly, coffins for those who never left. And though his hands were rough, his heart never hardened. That's why he noticed her. The crowd around her was jeering. A man shouted her price like she was a goat or a sack of grain. "Useless girl," the man barked. "Can't work hard, can't read, no family, no dowry. Who'll take her? A few coins and she's yours." Most people turned away. Thomas didn't. He saw the way she clutched her shawl, the way her lips moved silently, maybe in prayer, maybe in disbelief. And for reasons he couldn't explain, he stepped forward. "I'll take her," he said. The crowd went quiet. The seller blinked. "You?" Thomas nodded. "How much?" 10 coins? Thomas looked down at the purse in his hand. He had 12, his earnings for the entire month. He hesitated for only a moment before counting 10 and placing them in the man's palm. "Done," the seller said. "She's yours now." Thomas turned to the girl. Her eyes were wide, full of fear and confusion. "You don't have to be afraid," he said quietly. "You're coming with me, that's all." She didn't move, so he added softly, "I won't hurt you. I promise." Those words shouldn't have been rare, but in her world, they were. They walked home mostly in silence. The rain had stopped, but the air still smelled of mud and smoke. When they reached his small wooden house, Thomas lit a lamp and pointed to the chair by the fire. "You can sit," he said. Anna obeyed slowly, watching every move he made. "You must be hungry," he said, handing her a piece of bread. She took it, but didn't eat. "Why did you buy me?" Thomas hesitated. "Because I couldn't watch them treat you like that." Her brow furrowed. "Then what do you want me to do?" "Nothing," he said. "Just rest. You've been through enough." She stared at him like he was speaking a foreign language. No one had ever told her to rest before. That night, Thomas stayed up carving wood by the fire. He told himself it was to keep his hands busy, but really, it was because he didn't trust the silence or what it was doing to his heart. In the corner, Anna had fallen asleep in the chair, her head tilted toward the warmth. Her face looked younger that way, almost peaceful. Thomas set down his tools and whispered to the empty room, "I didn't save her. I just couldn't walk away." But in the soft crackle of the fire, something in the air shifted, the kind of shift that happens right before life decides to change forever. The first few days passed in silence, not the peaceful kind, but the kind that sits between two strangers who don't yet know how to exist in the same space. Thomas worked in his small workshop out back, shaping wood into things people needed, while Anna stayed inside, cleaning corners that didn't need cleaning just to feel useful. Every time he entered the room, she'd stand, not out of respect, but fear. Every time he left, she'd exhale, like she'd been holding her breath. He never told her what to do, never raised his voice, never touched her without asking. And maybe that's what confused her the most. Kindness without a price. Before we go on, a small reminder. If stories like this one make you feel something about patience, healing, and how small acts can change lives, please subscribe. It helps me keep sharing stories of quiet strength and unexpected love. On the 5th morning, Thomas found her sitting on the porch steps, hands wrapped around a chipped cup of tea. "You don't have to wake up this early," he said. "I'm used to it," she replied softly. "Old habits?" She nodded. "In the place I lived before, mornings meant work. If you weren't up before the sun, you didn't eat." Thomas sat beside her. "Then maybe it's time mornings meant something else." She frowned. "Like what?" "Like starting over." Over the next weeks, the air in the house changed. Anna still moved carefully, but her steps no longer echoed fear. She began cooking again, humming quietly when she thought he couldn't hear. Sometimes she'd bring him water while he worked, standing in the doorway of the workshop, watching the way his hands moved, steady, precise, gentle. One afternoon, he noticed her watching and smiled. "Would you like to try?" "Try?" He handed her a small block of wood and a carving knife. "It's not about strength. It's about patience." She hesitated, then sat beside him. Her hands trembled at first, but he guided her, not touching, just showing, explaining. "Every mark tells a story," he said. "You can't erase the grain, but you can shape it." She smiled faintly. "Like people?" He looked at her, really looked, and said quietly, "Exactly like people." As the days grew longer, something gentle began to grow between them, something that didn't need to be named. Anna laughed for the first time when he dropped a bowl of flour all over himself. He laughed too, though it was half shock, half joy at the sound of her laughter. It wasn't romance, not yet. It was something deeper. Trust, maybe, or the fragile beginning of hope. But every story has a shadow, and theirs came one evening with a knock at the door. A tall man stood outside, dust on his boots, arrogance in his eyes. Thomas recognized him immediately, the man who had sold her. "Evening," the man said. "Heard you've been keeping something that used to be mine." Thomas's jaw tightened. "You mean the girl you treated like property?" The man shrugged. "She's worth money, isn't she? And I need it back." Anna appeared behind Thomas, pale as moonlight. Her voice was barely a whisper. "Why are you here?" He smirked. "Because you belong to me." Thomas stepped forward, his voice low and steady. "No, she doesn't." The man laughed, but there was no humor in it. "Be careful, carpenter. Kindness doesn't pay. Business does." Thomas didn't move. "Then consider this charity," he said, and closed the door in his face. He turned to Anna, whose hands were shaking. "Hey," he said softly. "He can't hurt you now." Tears slipped down her cheeks. "You don't understand. People like him always come back." Thomas reached for a small wooden carving on the table, the one she had made her first day learning. It was a bird, simple but strong. He placed it in her hand. "Then let him come," he said. "You're not a thing to take back. You're free." Anna stared at the little wooden bird for a long time, her breath uneven. And for the first time, she believed him. That night, Thomas found her outside again, looking at the stars. "I never thanked you," she said quietly. He smiled. "You don't owe me thanks." "Yes, I do," she said. "You didn't just buy me. You gave me my name back." He hesitated. "You already had a name, Anna." She looked at him with soft eyes. "No, not before you said it like it mattered." The following days were uneasy. Even though the man never returned, the echo of his voice lingered in Anna's mind. The way he said, "You belong to me." Old fears have a way of hiding in quiet corners. They don't fade easily, even when life becomes kind. But Thomas didn't ask questions or force comfort. He simply went on living, building, carving, leaving a space beside him whenever she was ready to fill it. And slowly, she did. Spring came early that year. The valley turned green again, and the first flowers appeared near the workshop window. Anna had begun helping him with his orders, measuring wood, sanding edges, painting details. She was good at it, patient and precise. Thomas started calling her my partner, and she'd blush every time, not because of romance, but because it was the first time anyone had ever given her that kind of title. One afternoon, as they worked in silence, she said, "Thomas, may I ask you something?" "Of course." "Why are you so kind to me?" He smiled faintly. "Because once someone was kind to me when I didn't deserve it. I learned that saving someone isn't a debt. It's a circle. You just pass it on." She nodded slowly, her voice trembling. "Then maybe one day, I'll save someone too." That night, rain began to fall again, soft, steady, almost comforting. Thomas worked late by the fire, carving something small. When he finished, he wrapped it in cloth and placed it on the table. When Anna came in from the kitchen, he gestured toward it. "For you." She unwrapped it carefully. Inside was a wooden figure, a woman holding a small lantern. "It's you," he said. "You light up this place, Anna." Tears filled her eyes. "No one's ever made something for me before." He smiled. "Then I'm glad I was first." But the real miracle didn't come that night. It came weeks later, in the most ordinary way. A knock at the door again. Only this time, it wasn't the man who sold her. It was a young couple, soaked from the rain, carrying a small child in their arms. "Sir," the woman said, "we were told you could help us. Our son, he's sick. We don't have money, but..." Thomas stepped aside. "Come in. Warm him by the fire." Anna rushed to the child's side. The boy's skin was pale, his breathing shallow. She took his hand, whispering softly, "You'll be okay, little one." All night, she stayed awake tending to him, cooling his forehead, feeding him water drop by drop, humming an old lullaby she barely remembered from her childhood. By morning, the boy's fever had broken. The woman wept, clutching Anna's hands. "You saved him." "God bless you, miss." When they left, Thomas found Anna sitting quietly by the window, watching the sunrise. "You did that," he said. "You kept him alive." She smiled faintly. "Maybe that's the circle." A month later, word began to spread through nearby towns about a woman who helped heal sick children with nothing but patience, herbs, and a gentle voice. People started coming to their door not to buy furniture, but to seek her help. Thomas built a small room beside the house. Her space, her place to work. He carved a sign for the door, Anna's Light. When he showed it to her, she laughed through tears. "That's too much." He shook his head. "No, it's exactly right." Years passed. The girl who had once been sold in a market became known as the woman who healed hearts, not just with medicine, but with words and warmth. And Thomas, the man who bought her out of pity, became her lifelong friend, her chosen family. People in town often whispered that they must be married, but they never were. Their bond was something different, something beyond titles. She used to say, "He didn't rescue me. He reminded me that I could rescue myself." And when people asked Thomas why he had taken her in, he'd just smile and answer, "Because sometimes the miracles we think we buy are the ones that save us instead." Years later, when Thomas grew old and weak, Anna sat by his side every evening, carving wood just as he had taught her. She made small wooden birds, hundreds of them, and hung them around the house. On his last night, he looked at her and whispered, "You were the miracle, Anna." She held his hand and smiled through tears. "No, Thomas, you were." After his passing, Anna continued his work, still building, still healing, still lighting up the lives of others. And on the door of her home the sign still hung, weathered by time but never forgotten, Anna's Light. Because in a world that once treated her like something to be sold, she had become something money could never buy. A light in the dark, born from kindness, faith, and the simple power of being seen. If this story touched your heart, tell me what you felt in the comments below. Would you call Thomas's act fate or kindness that became something greater? And if you believe small acts of compassion can change entire lives, don't forget to like and subscribe. Your support helps keep stories like this alive, stories about people who find miracles not in wealth, but in love that asks for nothing in return.